Good afternoon, folks. Yes, you are here again with Raw 12:51 AM. We are back with another hustings for the Warwick SU student elections this year. So you have heard the hustings for the president, the welfare and campaigns officer. You've heard for education, DDO for sports. But now today I have the privilege of being joined by all three candidates for the societies officer role this year at Warwick SU. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lucy Faber-Stocks. I am one of the SMs here at Raw, and I am looking forward today to talking and quizzing our candidates about their priorities for the forthcoming year. But this is, again, a little reminder, it is Thursday, and it is getting very, very, very close to the closing of voting in these elections. Voting closes tomorrow at 7. You still have the chance to have your say. If you go to warwicksu.com/vote, you can have your say on voting on the relevant candidates for the relevant positions. And do make sure you vote properly, vote rankily with your candidates. Do make sure your vote has the full say that it can. But one thing just to prove how important voting is and how you should do it, I will hand you over to our head of visual, X1.
Polls are opening soon. This video covers how voting works in SU elections and making your vote count. First, go to the Warwick SU website and log in using your student ID. Hover over the Student Voice tab and select the Elections option. Scroll down to the Spring Elections section, and when polls open, click Vote Now. Voting uses the Single Transferable Vote System, or STV. When voting, you rank your favourite candidate as 1, but also rank the other candidates, so that if your first choice candidate isn't selected, your vote can be transferred to your second, third, and so on. And that's how to vote. Good luck.
Yeah, thank you, X1, for that one. So yes, do make sure you have your say at warwicksu.com/vote. Now, we are, of course, live, so do comment below. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, so do comment your questions if you have any for the candidates. I am sure they would be more than happy to answer them as we go along. So again, before I should really stop talking and introduce all of our candidates that are running this year. So first of all, I am going to introduce Daniel. Hello, Daniel. Thank you for taking the time to join me today. Would you like to introduce yourself and say a bit about why you're running this year?
Cool. I just want to say, first of all, thank you for Raw for having us. I'm really excited for this opportunity. So first of all, my name is Daniel Alvarez, and I'm running for Societies Officer. So a little about me. So I'm the president of Cypher Street Dance, a dance society at Warwick. And I was also the marketing director of Hip Hop Dance Echo in 2018. And I also helped achieve the Best Society Award in 2018. So I'm running for Societies Officer because I want a better future for societies. So I have 3 key pledges. So my first pledge is to increase promotion for all societies. Second pledge is to improve exec training. And thirdly, it's important to me as well, is to create new networks to make new friends. I think loneliness is a key social issue right now, especially during the pandemic. And I really want to harness societies to support students and making sure we're all connected next year.
Thank you for that, Daniel. Next, we have the lovely Shishang Lo joining me as well. Shishang, would you like to tell us a bit more about who you are and why you're running to be the next Societies Officer? Shishang, start again for me. Sorry, you were on mute.
Oh, sorry. Hi, thanks, Lucy, for this opportunity. I'm a Sergey Politics and International Studies student, and for the last 2 years, I've been an exec and the president of the Anime and Manga Society. If you didn't, look at the posters behind me. Anyway, and I'm also the current StarCraft lead for the Warwick Esports Society. And I'm running to be a societies officer because I think societies are incredibly important to the social fabric of the university itself. And I feel that societies this year have not received adequate support during the pandemic. So when running for societies officer, I have a couple of key pledges. First of all, I will help to protect and support societies from the effects of the pandemic to make sure that no society is left behind. I will ensure that mental health is put at the top of the university agenda and ensure that societies play a role in any solution towards tackling mental health. And also, I want to help make society running easier. I want to cut red tape and make certain processes easier for execs to make society running easier, more streamlined, and more effective.
Thank you very much, Shusha. And lastly, but by no means least, we have Charlotte Earl also joining us for the next 30 or 40 minutes. Charlotte, would you like to introduce yourself and your key policies for me, please?
Yeah, hi there. Thanks, Lucy. I remember I've got a bit of deja vu here because I was doing my president interview of you around this time last year. But anyway, I'm Charlotte Earl. I'm a second-year PACE student. I've been on the exec of 4 societies since coming to Warwick, including campaigns officer for Warwick Enable and treasurer for Warwick Wine Society. I've sat on the SU Societies Committee now for 2 years, approving new societies, dealing with constitutions, all quite boring bureaucracy stuff, but it's given me a really good insight into the way societies work here. I basically am running for societies officer because I think this has been a really terrible year for all students. But usually we have societies here to help us make new friends, have a good time. And due to the lack of in-person events this year, we just haven't had that. And I think that's a real shame. So I want to take over this role and make the whole of next year one hell of a party. Stuart Croft promised one. I want the whole year to be one hell of a party. And to do that, I want societies to be more fun, with more funding and less hassle. So a couple of my key policies are making sure that all societies have access to coronavirus emergency funding grants to help them put on a really legendary event to kick off the new year with all of their members that they might not have the money for due to reduced membership this year. In terms of more fun, I'm all about getting SU outlets reopened, new and improved, ready for next year. And in terms of less hassle, I want to ensure that there's more storage available for all societies in the middle of campus, not stuck over in Westwood or Gibbet Hill, that you can access 24 hours a day whenever you need it. You don't have to book in or anything. Just so running a society is no longer an endless slog, but it's a really rewarding and enjoyable experience.
Lovely. Thank you, Charlotte. So thank you all for taking the time to come and join me today. So the opportunity, I will be asking the questions. I'll give you the opportunity for each of you to have your say, and then you can pick up on what either of your other candidates say as well. Just raise your hands and I will focus on you. So first of all, we've got to kick it off by one generic question. So what makes you suitable to be the next societies officer? Shishang, we'll start with you for this one.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, Lucy. So as I've said, I've been the president and exec of a society for the past 2 years. And during my time, I've become accustomed to the interworkings of societies and the sort of barriers which societies have faced. For example, when dealing with the SU, dealing with bureaucracy of the SU, and what society needs in order to operate. I also believe during my time as an exec, I have developed very good listening skills, which I argue is very important, which is a very important aspect of the role, because you're going to have to listen to a lot of opinions on certain issues in order to get a full range of opinions. So, for example, during my time as an exec of the Anime Society, I'm pretty certain I've had conversations with over 50 different members, one-on-one, in the society, and a lot of it was to do with asking for feedback on new or existing events that we've put up and we've held, and this has ultimately helped changed our events within the society. Some events within the society has had to change and improved because of this feedback, and it's something which I really cherished a lot. I've also had a lot of experience liaising with different student bodies and different societies. For example, when putting on collaboration events during the past year, I've had to communicate with different societies and different exec members in order to make such events happen. For example, this includes the Mandarin Society and the Japanese Society. I think this sort of experience I feel is important for the role, which involves dealing with a lot of different student bodies and other university departments and groups. For example, like estates, for example, yeah. And also, as the president of the society in this last year, I know the challenges that societies have had to face this year, like having to go onto like an online platform, trying to recruit members, putting on events. It's been a slog, and I have first-hand experience in dealing with all those issues. Furthermore, I've been in charge of pretty much planning every single event the society has done in the past year. So I think I hope it has. I think it has helped increase my planning abilities, and I think that's also very important to being a societies officer of the SU.
Thank you, Shishan. Daniel, would you like to tell us why you're suitable to be the next Societies Officer, please?
Oh, my mic's muted. Thank you, Lucy. So why am I suitable? Well, firstly, I think I have the passion to be Societies Officer. Society has been an important role in my time at university, so I really want to make sure that everyone experiences the same level of community within society that I've experienced. And secondly, I have the experience to be suitable for the role. So I've been exec for before the pandemic in 2018, and I've been president during the pandemic in 2020. So I feel like I've experienced in both running an exec, and this makes me well suited for the upcoming few months, especially for next academic year, as we'll be the government wants to introduce a new way out of COVID, and I feel like my experiences will be well suited for that role. And I also think that I have three key strengths, which makes me suitable. So firstly, I have creative thinking, which is really important, especially for right now, how challenging this year's been, especially we don't know what the year will look like next year. So as a small dance society, we had to adjust, given our bread and butter is dance and has to be an in-person kind of thing. So we've adjusted through online classes, and I've helped organize and be the lead in organizing an online dance battle. And we've able to bring a DJ in and try to make it a really successful event. So I think creative thinking is important. Hopefully it didn't take too much time there.
No, certainly not at all. Charlotte, now, lastly, would you, but by no means least, would you like to explain why you are suitable to be the next Societies Officer, please?
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. So I've been on the exec of a society since my first term arriving at Warwick, actually. And it's been a very kind of broad mix of societies. So, for example, with Warwick Wine Society, it's given me an insight into the way food and beverage societies work. And as treasurer, I've seen kind of what struggles societies face in terms of money. On the other hand, as campaigns officer for Warwick Enable, I've had a real good insight into the way that a campaigning society works, and also as campaigns officer, into the way that liberations campaigns work here at Warwick. So I've got a really broad set of society experience. And as I mentioned in my opening statement, I've also been on the SU Societies Committee for 2 years. I was elected in the autumn elections in my first year and re-elected this year. And so that has given me probably the best insight that somebody could get into how societies work within the SU bureaucracy in terms of approving these societies, reviewing finance requests and constitutions. So I've already got that really good insight, so I could really hit the ground running and do the role really effectively, I think. Just some of my other experience, I'm also an NUS delegate, so I've already got a lot of kind of insight into student democracy, so I think I could really be an effective SAB next year. Thank you.
Fabulous, thank you, Charlotte. One thing I should also mention, it is nice to see that people are liking what they're hearing so far. Johnny Jenkins, it's great to see that we're holding the hustings this week. Of course, he had to comment. But, you know, yes, so we've talked a lot about you. We've talked about why you're suitable. But I think what people really want to know is what you're going to do in the role of Societies Officers. So first of all, obviously, you have all, to a degree, made reference to COVID. It's something we can't ignore. So how do you plan on protecting societies in the wake of the pandemic, especially those that might have a small membership, those that have really struggled this year? I, as a president of a society, know what it's like to have tried to get members and try to continue that engagement throughout a whole academic year where essentially all of it has been done remotely. So how are you really going to support the smaller societies on campus? Charlotte, would you like to take this one first for me?
Yeah, so already on Societies Committee this year, I've stood up for societies on a number of occasions, such as by calling for handover deadlines to be pushed back. I've said that more societies should get help with recruiting exec next year, and so I definitely want to carry on with that, because I think it's fair to say that a lot of societies won't be able to recruit a full exec, or won't have enough members to reach quorum. I think that should be abolished, and that there should be just kind of society should be exempt from the kind of usual restrictions on membership that are usually in place. Other than that, I want to, as I said in my opening speech, coronavirus emergency funding grants to help them start throwing events again as soon as we can. because of membership struggling this year, they might not have enough funding to do that. And on top of that, I want SucsFed to be frozen until unrestricted in-person events are allowed again, until we're completely back to normal, because I think SucsFed is more of a financial barrier to most people joining a society than the actual society membership fee itself. And whatever happens going forward, I want a massive review into the way that the SucsFed fee works, because I think it is such a big barrier financially for people joining societies, and it leads to lower membership. So that is kind of my main priority, really.
Lovely, thank you. Shishan, would you like to tell us a bit more as to how you plan on protecting these smaller societies here at Warwick?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I know personally a lot of exec on very small societies, in fact, very new societies, which have just formed this year. And a lot of them basically have not able to put any events on, no membership whatsoever. And in fact, my society, the Anime Manga Society, only has an exec. We had an election very recently. We only have a half full exec, which just about works, but it really is not optimal. So I recognize the issues which a lot of societies have had to deal with. And indeed, one of these is exec recruitment, which, whilst there has been some moves towards protecting or like encouraging this, which Ollie has been putting out, I think this is perhaps not enough, because a lot of exec positions are specialist in nature, and that requires even a deeper level to deal with. So I agree with what Charlotte said in terms of we need to have more funding towards societies in order to ensure they can still put on events and into the new year if needed, and if they need it. And also we need to protect societies from the effects of the pandemic. So no society should be closed down because of the pandemic, so due to a lack of membership. And if it's still needed into the new year, I want to introduce some ideas such as Warwick Year Away, something which the University of East Anglia, I believe, has implemented this year, is where for like a week, society memberships are basically zero, and the students can join as many societies as they want with no costs, and it encourages membership uptake. And of course, I want to look into the payment of how society federation fee and how that works exactly. However, I think abolishing that willy-nilly without looking into it more carefully might be a bit of an issue, because if we're increasing funding towards societies, increase grants, I don't know how, if we lowered that, I don't know how we can how we could afford a lot of the grants that we as candidates are proposing.
Thank you, Shisha. I'm going to come back to the SOCS Federation fee very, very shortly. I will come back to it a bit sooner than I was planning. But first of all, I'd like to get Daniel's idea for protecting the smaller societies here on campus, and then we will come back to the SOCS Federation fee.
Oh, my mic's muted.
There you go.
Sorry again. Thank you, Lucy. I completely understand the position small societies are. As a president of a dance society that's quite niche and not many people know of, I feel like I've also been talking to other societies as well. And part of the reason why I'm even running is because I want to increase the promotion of societies. I think with the lack of in-person events and being unable to present your society to everyone, part of the bread and butter of our dance society is making sure people know what the energy is, and you can't communicate energy that well through online. So I want to really utilize the social media account that the SU already has, and to make sure it reaches all prospective and incoming students. Another key issue on how to promote society is that I've been talking to FanSoc, and I got really good ideas for making sure we have more than 2 societies there. We have open days for specifically societies, so incoming freshers know about the societies at Warwick before they even started first week. And I know loads of students as well have indicated to me that they apply to Warwick because of certain societies. So I know society is a really important part in the university experience. And secondly, I want to improve exec training. So I think, as other candidates have mentioned, that the new incoming exec will really need to be trained very well in order to know how to navigate both in-person events and both online events. So I think making sure that training isn't just a PowerPoint on the SU website, it's actually a really well thought out live workshop they can go through Teams if we aren't able to do in-person stuff, and they're actually getting the information and absorbing it rather than clicking through a PowerPoint on the SU website.
Thank you, Daniel. That's incredibly helpful. So one thing that we've got to come to now, as you've all brought it up to a degree, this is the Societies Federation fee. Now, this comes up every year in the SU elections, and it's, again, you can't question that. It does come up every year. So what do you talk, a lot of you talk about, some of you talk about getting rid of the SOX fee, some of you talk about reducing it, you see it as a barrier, others are saying, oh, well, no, we need to keep it there to a degree because the grants still have funding. So what is your opinion on the fee? If you want to reduce it, how are you going to get how are you going to offset the loss of income to societies and the support? But also, if you're just going to leave it as it is, what are you going to do in turn to sort of make sure societies don't lose members? Where are you drawing the line here? Shishang, I want to come to you first on this one,
Yeah,
please.
Sure. So in fact, I think Ollie has put in place this year multi-year Society Federation fees, which is not publicly announced, but it is on the SU website, and it will be introduced officially this year, next academic year. So which means that you can buy multi-year societies fees, which is something which I really like, because ultimately you can get a discount over like a 3-year period. Well, in terms of the Society Federation itself, loads of candidates in the past have always pledged to remove it, and ultimately it's still here. It's not being removed. I want to look into how the Society Federation money, the fee from the money from the fee, how it's spent and how it's effectively spent within the SU, and see if we can try and make spending within the SU more efficient. And if we can make it more efficient within the SU, we can ultimately look to reduce it, because if we, obviously we can make it more efficient, we can reduce it. I do not think removing it is a viable option, because I don't think it's possible to offset the loss of money. And also, I don't think it would necessarily sort of hinder a membership towards, or engagement with society itself, because I think a lot of societies don't require membership to be very active within societies. For example, my society, we don't require membership. I know many other societies I've been to don't require membership. So I don't think it's necessarily a big barrier, but I do think the fee should be there in some aspects to ensure that grants can be still maintained to societies.
Thank you, Shishan. Daniel, your opinion on this? Would you like to come back with this, with your version of what should happen with the Society Federation fee?
Yeah, no worries, thank you. I completely agree with most things that Shishan said already, with the multi-year Society Federation. I think I definitely want to promote that out more and making sure people are aware of it, because I think it's a really good idea, because instead of having to buy Societies Federation every single year, it's good to just have it out of the way at once. My personal stance on Societies Federation fee is that I think it isn't necessary, in terms of being realistically viable, how societies operate. But I think it is a key issue for students as well, being a financial barrier sometimes. But I want to make sure that the Society Federation fee is working towards the societies themselves and making sure societies are well funded. The biggest issue for societies in terms of federation fee is that making sure membership is worth it for students. And I think especially this year, it's challenging to making sure what societies can offer is worth being a member. I want to make sure to implement more creative ideas if we still have to do online stuff, to making sure membership is worth it. But also, I want to increase the promotion of what societies can really offer, because I think sometimes it's amazing what societies can do for you, and being a member cuts a lot of costs. So I think it also helps the societies themselves to run and also give something back to their members. So I think it is necessary, and it's part of why it's financially viable.
Thank you. And Charlotte, I see your, from what you've said previously in that last sort of 20 minutes, your version on the opinion on the Society Federation fee is slightly different. You're more for removing it completely?
Not necessarily. First of all, until I would love to remove it completely. That's something I would absolutely love to do, but I just don't think it's possible based within the SU, the way the SU operates. I'd like to see it definitely reduced. I think speaking to certain people in societies I'm involved with who may have been members in previous years and asking them this year, oh, are you going to join the society? And they simply said, no, because I don't want to pay SoxFed. And so I think a lot of people who, if SoxFed was abolished, would pay the membership fees to join the society still, and that would help the societies get more money and maybe make up some of the lost funds from Soxfed. I don't know, but until I get in the role, I can't really fully establish how Soxfed works, but I would make sure that one of the first things I did was do a thorough review into it and work out ways that it could be reduced or changed, or maybe do something like you can join one society without paying Soxfed, but if you want to join multiple, then you have to pay it. And one thing I do think is that in the same way that currently liberation societies are exempt from Soxfed, joining your academic society attached to your department you're studying in should be free to join. So for example, I do PACE. I think you should be able to just join, say, politics society without having to pay Soxfed. Then if you want to go on to join more, then that's when you have to pay, perhaps. Just look for really creative ways to make society so much more accessible to students from all financial backgrounds. And if that means, and if it can be abolished, then I would abolish it. If it can't be abolished, I'll look for ways to make it cheaper and more accessible.
Lovely, thank you, Charlotte. It's nice to, I did get quite a lot of nodding from a lot of you as each of you were talking, so I think there is a degree of consensus about the Society Federation fee here. That's always good to hear. And by the looks of things, we have the approval of the current Society's officer, Ollie Barron, what you guys are saying, which is very good to, it's good to know that he's watching. So again, let's take it back, obviously, to COVID, but not COVID just specifically. We've got to have a look at the forthcoming academic year. So, you know, you guys will be taking office over the summer and you'll be hitting the ground running, ready for term one, for welcoming new freshers in, and ultimately welcoming the freshers that are going into second year again, because they have not really had the full proper society experience. I don't think that any of us had. When you join in first year, you get involved on day one, and I did with Ron. I'm still here, I've never left. So what policies do you have for COVID recovery for societies? How are in term one in the forthcoming academic year? What are you going to do for these societies that are struggling? What are you going to do just to promote awareness to students of society? Because one thing I think we do need to be cautious of is that a lot that are now going into second year will not have the full society experience, and we don't want that to result in a decline in societies at Warwick. So, Daniel, I'll come to you first. What do you want to do in the ground running in term one next year?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, so part of my first pledge is to increase promotion societies, and as part of my answer, like how will I be able to do that? I think the SU Instagram is so important, because I think just utilizing the Instagram is the first point of call for students as well. So making sure we have like a comprehensive promotion of like what societies are on offer, and even just increasing the engagement and content within that Instagram. And my ideas of using a society showcase. So making sure not just in the first week of Freshers Fair, we'll have entire 4 weeks dedicated to each category of society. So 1 week we'll have a showcase on the Insta stories about performance societies or about academic societies. So all societies have an equal chance of being promoted on the Insta story. And I think that's really important to know like what societies are actually on offer beyond than just Society's Fair itself. And you can even see like, because going down the list on the SU webpage, like there's so many on offer, and I just want an accessible and directable way of communicating that across the students.
Lovely, thank you. And Charlotte, would you like to come into this next? Term one next year, what are you going to do for societies?
Yeah, so I completely agree that promotion is absolutely key. And I think very core to this is making sure that we can have an in-person societies fair, because the online one this year, as much as I had so many high hopes it would work, it just wasn't very well attended. And I think speaking to some freshers, barely any of them actually knew it was really going on. So a massive in-person societies fair like we have in usual years, it might not be possible at the time, but we should make sure that we can maybe do it over a few days or provide other opportunities for an in-person society promotion, such as on the piazza. Just really come up with a good COVID-safe plan that we can use to have in-person society promotion. In regards to other elements of recovery, I want ultimately the SU spaces, so T-Bar, the Dirty Dark, the Copper Rooms, they're really core to the society experience for so many people, whether it's just a casual meet-up and a chat, or whether you want to have a really good night out. And so booking spaces within SU buildings should be really easy. At the moment, it can be right nightmare just to book a table within the terrace bar. So I want to set up a really easy to use online system where you could book a circle in the copper rooms, or you could book a corner of T-bar. So you can have some really good society socials from day one. Because I think if you look at the freshers, if you ask me, all I want really is to sit there with everyone in the society and have a really good time. And it should be easy to sort that out. And so an easy to use booking system for that, and also available to other societies, so performance societies that won't want to book a room to do a rehearsal. That I was speaking to the to the exec of one of the performing societies. He said they just can't book a room with mirrors to do their rehearsals. So one centralized system where you can book, say, a table in the Dirty Dark or the Mirror Room over in Westwood. I think that's really key to making sure societies can really hit the ground running in October and start putting on really good events that will get members, get money, and everyone can have a great time.
Thank you, Charlotte. And last but by no means least, Shishan, the next academic year, what are you going to do for societies, please?
Yeah, sure. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen by term one because it's all very uncertain due to COVID. So what I will make sure to do is I'll be prepared in terms of hitting the ground running with Freshers Fair, and make sure preparations for Freshers Fair is done very well. For example, I'll make sure that in the eventuality it might be virtual, we could use a hybrid solution, or if it's in real life, I want to make sure that all those solutions are looked into and make sure they're all troubleshooted in due course. I do agree with both of what Charlotte and Daniel said about promotion. Promotion is incredibly important, and I want to, as Daniel also alluded to, is also include a society showcase throughout the next academic year. So where societies can showcase and promote what they have done and what progress they've done throughout the year. In terms of social media, I think social media is a very important tool in promoting societies, and of course I would want to promote the society use of social media. However, we need to be aware about social media also has exclusionary effects, which might sound a bit strange, but for example, in my society, not a lot of people, especially on my exec, and a lot of people don't actually use Facebook, which is quite interesting. And so, for example, this year, a lot of the SU community SU community page on Facebook, a lot of the SU communication was on the SU community page on Facebook, and not a lot of my exec literally engaged with it. So we need to be aware that this exclusionary thing is real, and this also goes to Instagram and other sources of social media. So we need to move towards a more centralized platform, which is something I've talked to Ollie with, and Ollie agrees with me, and Ollie is working on, I believe so, he's working on something like this. It's more like a centralized platform. So for example, I personally want to integrate the society SU events page, where societies can put events onto the SU timetable. There's like a SU website timetable which societies can put events onto. I want to integrate that into the My Warwick app, or make a new app so people can be more aware of when society events that they care about happen. And that is like a cool new technological way we could sort of advance promotion.
Lovely, thank you, Zhishan. So one thing I will mention, one question we have had in the comments has been there a while, I haven't been able to come to it sooner, is someone was elected treasurer of a society last year, but their predecessor failed to hand over any of the information needed. So obviously this coming year we've talked about handovers and new execs, etc., very briefly in the wake of COVID. But what are you going to do? Because this is obviously going to be even more problematic this year with COVID, with execs struggling currently over the year, and whatever execs that are coming in are going to be limited and smaller than they would normally. So what will you do to save societies from having problematic handovers like this? What I will do is I will come to Charlotte first.
Yeah, so first of all, this is a problem that I have faced myself. When I became treasurer of Warwick Wine Society, I had no access to any of the login details for the finance page. So my first port of call was actually contacting the SU directly, who eventually gave me my details, but it took ages to come through. So I think if there is information that you can get directly from the SU, then make that readily available from the start, because sometimes with a previous exec member, you might just not be able to get in contact with them, and they might take ages. So if the SU have that information, the SU should do everything they can to make sure that society has it in a prompt manner. But other than that, I think it's just a case of, first of all, training. You got to make sure that even though the training will happen at the start of their term on the exec, you've got to make sure that the handover is seen as an integral part of their exec role and not just as some kind of afterthought after their term is finished. So making sure that the importance of handover is really hammered home. But also as well, I think making sure that exec communication is always really, really strong, because ultimately one piece of important information shouldn't just be held by one member of the society, and information such as in the case of the treasurer, like access to the finance section of the SU webpage, should be shared to other members, because I think there has to be some level of accountability there. So making sure exec communication is permanently effective so that information is being shared with everyone, I think, is the key to that.
Lovely, thank you. Shishan?
Yeah, I think Charlotte's quite correct on a lot of these issues. So like we need to sort of encourage exec to be more open about sort of these processes, for example, how to deal with finance stuff and other processes which help to run a society. Perhaps like making, for example, in my society, we have as a group in our exec have made a sort of handover document which details on how each exec position and how it functions, and this has been being slowly created over the past 2 years, and it's something which I think societies could also be taught to do and forced to do. And so yeah, I think that could be a cool idea. In terms of if that fails, in terms of that, this of course as SU should be the first port of call when it comes to information, and we need to deal with the bureaucracy within the SU and make sure it works more efficiently, and make sure that more information is on hand. Maybe the information could be available on the SU website in a more accessible manner, something like that, to make it more easier for societies to hand over in the case of the question posed.
So if I don't mute myself. Daniel, would you like to come into this? What were you going to do to save societies from bad handovers for me, please?
Yeah, thank you for the question as well. I think it's a really important issue as well. And that's one on my second key pledge that I wanted to run for society's officer, is to improve exec training. I think it's beyond just then communicating to execs to making sure they have a good handover. I think especially as the role of society's officer, what can I do specifically is to make sure that I think in the future, I think it can't happen immediately, but I want to implement that exec training to happen in the end of term 2, and at least during Easter, and the very latest, the beginning of term 3. So when execs are starting their role within term 3, they're already well prepared and well equipped to hit the ground running in term 3. So they're already implementing the ideas they want to do. So that the big part of my strategy around exec training is to making sure, as I said before, to have a live, online, and accessible way of communicating how to navigate finances. I understand how difficult it is to understand how to use student finance, but I think it's the important part is making sure someone's there and able to guide you through step-by-step detail, instead of having just the SU website making you read loads of information and try to absorb it yourself. We need someone to implement that and guide you through this whole process.
Lovely, thank you. So I'm going to whiz through the next couple of questions because I've got some key ones that I want to get in. The next thing that I can't really not ask is about those students who might not traditionally engage with societies here at Warwick. So we've got postgraduates, mature students, foundation year students. So how do you plan on increasing engagements with students that traditionally wouldn't get involved with societies here at Warwick? Shishan, I would like to come to you first on this one, please.
Yeah, sure. I think promotion is a key. I think promotion is a key element to helping increase uptake from these sort of groups. For example, we could maybe increase targeted promotion towards these certain groups, maybe in terms of different sort of groups they're in, maybe different Facebook group, maybe different social media groups, as well as the centralized platforms, which I also proposed earlier. I mean, it's quite. In terms of being a postgrad and being on a single year course, I guess university life is, at least at Warwick, might be quite fleeting and might be quite alienating. Not necessarily alienating. Sorry, that's the wrong word. It's more there seems less worth with university life. So I think in terms of that, I think we need to hit the ground running very effectively in terms of a very effective freshers fair, which sort of entices and sort of encourages postgrads, all these other people who from different years who may not engage with societies as much, and help them, encourage them, and help them see the real value of societies within their finite time at university.
Thank you, Shishang. Daniel?
Thank you for the question. I think the most important thing is making sure people have support networks to engage with societies. Because I think the most important thing, especially for students who are postgraduate or mature students, is making sure they have people to go to these societies and making sure they feel included. And sometimes they don't feel that way because they think that, oh, it's not for me, and the people I would engage with aren't there. So I think part of my pledge is to create networks and making sure people are connected and can find other postgrads to go to that society during Freshers Week, so it doesn't feel too scary and alone, that you're just going there and making sure you have someone to connect with once you're there.
Lovely, thank you, Daniel. And by last but no means least, Charlotte.
Yeah, so I think the traditional ways of trying to engage postgrad, more promotion and putting up more posters, I think they're simply not working. I think ultimately there should be a parallel postgrad welcome week that happens alongside the usual one, because obviously postgrads start their degrees at different times to undergraduates. Postgrads are also interested in so many different in different things to say your traditional undergrad, that for a lot of postgrads who are slightly more mature, that a night out in the copper rooms isn't going to be what they want. So having a parallel postgrad welcome week with events more tailored towards the postgraduate community, or more targeted towards mature and part-time students, and that doesn't just happen in the last week of September as it usually does, but it happens across multiple weeks when students, when different postgrad students may arrive. That's just, I think, the start of getting kind of more postgrad engagement. But I think simply just social media promotion, it just simply isn't going to work. The only other thing as well is I think that some societies should recognise that various events that they're going to hold aren't going to appeal to anyone but your standard full-time undergraduate student. And even if they try and maybe tailor an individual event, it simply isn't going to appeal. So there should be a greater push to have postgrad dedicated events within society structures, which are run and only really include postgrads in their community.
Lovely, thank you, Charlotte. So a couple of things I want to get in quickly before we come to the end of this is the accessibility of the societies officer. I know as a president of a society is crucial. You know, when things aren't exactly going to plan, whether it be for financial reasons, whether it be for COVID reasons, whether it be just because the world is happening and life is happening as it is, you know, the societies officer is quite a key point, even for minor issues like on the day of the societies fair, you know, a logistical thing. So how would you make yourself, sort of give us one brief sentence, how would you make yourself accessible for members of execs of societies? Daniel, you first for me.
I would make myself accessible by being as approachable and friendly as I can, and I usually am. So yeah, just being myself and being my friendly personality will make sure people will try to, as much as they can, want to go to me and be the point of call for their problems and queries.
Thank you. And Charlotte?
I don't think the current method of emailing and hoping for the best is really working, because it can take absolutely weeks to get a response. So on the centralized society planning system I want to create a direct message feature where you can send a message straight to the society's officer or society's coordinators about small issues, say I need this login detail or I need this funding request process, and it can just be seen a lot quicker than if you're waiting for the society's officer to trawl through loads of emails.
Thank you. Shishang?
I'll be ever present on Facebook Messenger. I'll be ever present on Discord. If people want to just add me on that, I'll be ever present on that. I also want to make more visible the SU website function of directly contacting SU officers. That button actually does exist, but it actually is quite tucked into the SU website, and it's quite difficult to find. We'll make that more visible, and so people can post messages to SU officers as easy, like society officers, as easy as possible.
Lovely, thank you. So one thing that I also need to mention is a question that has come up in the comments, and I just sort of want to get a brief yes or no answer from each of you. Society endorsements in the SU elections. Obviously, this has been quite a issue of contention this year. So if you were elected societies officer next year, would you continue them? Give me a yes or a no. Shishang first.
No, I absolutely hate them. Hate it.
Okay. Daniel?
Yes, I support them.
Okay, and Charlotte?
No, they've been a complete disaster this year.
Thank you all three for giving your opinion on that. But I do have a question that I've been told to ask. Ollie has asked that I give it to you specifically. So he says, if you're elected onto the SAB team, you'll be part of Team Fun, which is societies and sport. So his question is, what will be your first step to make the SAB team fun? You know, take from that what you will, if you can interpret what Ollie's meaning by that. So what would your first thing be to make the SAB team fun? I will go to Sharp first on this one.
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. Like, obviously, there's been lots of spats within the SAB team this year. So I think that SAB should all come together and attend society events and make sure that they go to pop and other socials as a group, and really put on a united front as first of all SU officers, but also a really good group of hopefully friends that can all come together and make students' lives better.
Lovely, thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, to make it fun, as Ollie said, I think you're just getting to know them, like going on, having a personalized like call and making sure to get to know them like on a really like good like level. Just that's the first start to having fun.
Yeah, you have to say it 3 times. And Shisha?
I'm not going to say it 3 times. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I think communication is talking to the other members. I think that's a fantastic way to start. Just getting to know them, perhaps play some sort of games, perhaps. And of course, like going to like different sort of, I don't know, maybe eat out or some sort of thing, if we can do it by then, of course. So yeah, it's just sort of in social interaction within the team itself and make sure that we are all connected and well functioning. Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you all for taking the time to join me today. I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the campaign. Obviously, we are on the last leg. Now, it has been a rather long 10 days, I think you guys will probably agree. But yes, so thank you for taking the time to join me. And I will probably be speaking to you, one of you, on the evening of the results. So yes, that has been the Society Officer Hustings for the Warwick SU elections, happening on Friday. Polls, again, this is your reminder to vote. Polls close at 7 on Friday. The link is again going across the bottom of the screen, warwicksu.com/vote. Make sure you have your say and make sure you rank all your candidates in the STB system as well. And again, I just want to remind everyone that on Friday at 9 o'clock on all of our raw social medias, we will be broadcasting the big decision where we will be revealing the results of the election. So do keep an eye out for that, as you'll probably get to see one of our lovely society candidates having a chat with us about what they're going to do over the forthcoming year. So again, thank you for taking the time to watch today. Make sure you vote at the link below and take care.